Welcome back to this week's edition of the Risk Spotlight Operational Risk News Update. My name is Emily Jones, and today I'll be bringing you essential updates and insights from the world of operational risk drawn from the past week. All information shared here is sourced from the Risk Spotlight portal, the premier forward-looking service dedicated to operational risk content. Let's get started. The first update is related to a new report titled Artificial Intelligence and the Economy: Implications for Central Banks, published by the Banking for International Settlements. The report highlights that the adoption of AI, particularly large language models and generative AI tools, is happening at breakneck speed. ChatGPT reached 1 million users in less than a week, and nearly half of U.S. households have used Gen AI tools in the past year. Companies across all industries are integrating AI into their operations and investing heavily in the technology. This rapid adoption of AI has major implications for central banks in two key ways. First, it's going to affect their core activities as economic stewards. AI will influence financial systems, productivity, consumption, investment, and labor markets, all of which directly impact price and financial stability. Second, AI will have a direct bearing on central bank operations through its impact on the financial system. Financial institutions are increasingly using AI tools, which will change how they interact with and are supervised by central banks. The financial sector, in particular, is facing both huge opportunities and risks from AI due to its data-intensive nature. AI can enhance efficiency and lower costs in areas like payments, lending, insurance, and asset management. For example, AI models can improve know-your-customer processes and help reverse the decline in correspondent banking. However, AI also introduces new cyber risks and potential financial stability risks. To address these challenges, there's an urgent need for central banks to upgrade their capabilities and collaborate. They need to form a community of practice to share knowledge, data, best practices, and AI tools. It's a brave new world out there, and central banks need to be ready for it. The next update is about the European Central Bank getting serious about climate change and might start taking action against companies that aren't meeting their climate goals. The ECB has been keeping tabs on about 95 banks across Europe, checking out how they're handling climate-related risks. They've found that while most banks have plans in place, only about 20% of them are actually making good progress. The rest? Well, they're falling behind, with about 30% of banks barely making any headway at all. The ECB's not too happy about this and is considering some pretty serious measures, including higher capital requirements for banks that aren't stepping up. Now, this isn't just about the banks themselves. The ECB is also looking at how banks are dealing with their clients, who might be big polluters. They're encouraging banks to set clear climate targets for these clients and to think about cutting ties with those who aren't making an effort to go green. It's all part of a bigger push to get the financial sector on board with fighting climate change. The ECB's even talking about publishing more detailed assessments of how banks are doing on this front, which could really put the pressure on. Next update highlights alarming news from France that's got holidaymakers on edge. It turns out that online crime targeting tourists has skyrocketed, with a jaw-dropping 550% increase in reported cases over the past year. The French authorities are pointing fingers at artificial intelligence for making these scams more sophisticated and harder to spot. Now get this. The most common trick these cybercriminals are pulling is impersonating vacation rental owners. They're creating fake listings and swiping money from unsuspecting travelers. It's not just a few isolated incidents either. We're talking about 16,000 cases reported to the French police in 2023 alone. And here's the kicker. On average, victims are losing around 2,400 euros each. That's a serious dent in anyone's holiday budget. But don't cancel your French getaway just yet. The authorities are fighting back. They've launched a big awareness campaign. They're urging tourists to be extra cautious, especially when booking accommodations online. So, if you're planning a trip to France, keep your wits about you and double-check everything. The next update highlights that in the first quarter of 2024, nearly half of all security incidents were related to multi-factor authentication, MFA issues. Yeah, you heard that right. A quarter of these incidents happened because users fell for fake MFA push notifications, while 21% were due to MFA not being set up properly. It's like leaving your front door wide open and wondering why burglars keep getting in. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Cybercriminals are getting super creative with their MFA bypass techniques. They're not just spamming you with push notifications anymore. These sneaky devils are stealing authentication tokens, using social engineering to trick IT departments, and even compromising contractors to change phone numbers for MFA codes. And if that wasn't enough, there's now phishing as a service kits with MFA bypass capabilities. The next update highlights findings from a new report titled Thales 2024 Cloud Security Study. Nearly half of organizations have experienced a cloud data breach, with 14% reporting an incident in just the past year. The main culprit? Human error and misconfigurations, accounting for 31% of these breaches. That's actually down from last year when it was a whopping 55%. On the flip side, exploitation of known vulnerabilities is on the rise, causing 28% of breaches. Now let's talk about what's at risk. The top cloud targets are SaaS applications, cloud storage, and cloud management infrastructure. And get this, 66% of organizations are using more than 25 SaaS apps. That's a lot of potential entry points for attackers. What's even more concerning is that 47% of corporate data in the cloud is sensitive, but less than 10% of enterprises have encrypted 80% or more of their cloud data. Talk about leaving the door wide open. Despite these risks, organizations are still all in on the cloud. It's central to their security strategies, but it's not without its challenges. Nearly half of the respondents said it's harder to manage compliance and privacy due to cloud complexity. And here's a mind-boggling stat for you. 53% of organizations are using 5 or more key management systems. That's a recipe for potential human error right there. The good news? Cloud security is a top concern for 65% of respondents, and it's the leading category for security spending. So at least they're taking it seriously. The last update highlights worrying analysis of embezzlement within the South Korean banking industry. Bank employees have been pulling off some serious heists, and we're not talking chump change here. In one case, a Woori Bank employee managed to embezzle a whopping 10 billion won. That's about $7.1 million. This person was approving corporate loans for months, flying under the radar by keeping each loan under 1 billion won. It's like they found a loophole in the system and exploited it to the max. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about a few bad apples. Experts are saying it's a systemic problem rooted in the corporate culture of these banks. We're talking about lax supervision, lenient punishments, and a top-down culture where speaking up can cost you your job. And get this, even when someone gets caught embezzling over 5 billion won, they might only face a dozen years in prison. No wonder some folks are joking that embezzlement is a quick way to earn billions in salary for a short prison stint. Recent comments from the Financial Supervisory Service governor indicate a potential shift towards stricter penalties for CEOs of financial firms to deter such misconduct. And there you have it. A whirlwind tour of last week's operational risk landscape. If you want to read more about the topics I have covered and review additional content on emerging operational risk topics, then please log into the Risk Spotlight portal if you are a subscriber, or go to RiskSpotlight.com to sign up for a free trial. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay safe and keep those risks in check.